Let's solve text 2 of part C. Why does the writer tell the story of news reporter? When you see like why, we have to find out the reason. Okay. For part C, we read the question and we'll go to the paragraph, try to understand, and then we'll give the answer. So I need to find out the reason, the purpose. Why does the writer tell the story of the news reporter? Understand the question first properly. Now, when I read the paragraph, when a news reporter in the US given unintelligible live TV commentary of an award ceremony, she became an overnight internet sensation. As the paramedics attended, the worry was that she suffered a stroke live on air, others funded. So, there are two types of um, understanding, because when I see others, it's already given like one point of view is suffered a stroke, the others wondered if she was drunk or on drugs. So this is another point of view. However, in interviews shortly after, she revealed to general astonishment, which means general surprising factor is that she would simply been started a migraine. So this is the exact what has happened. So now this is the story, why it will be followed up. Okay, the desire here, it is strange. Okay, the strange speech difficulties she experienced are an uncommon symptom of aura. So here also they are telling like uncommon, strange. The collective name for a range of neurological symptoms that may occur just before a migraine headache. So what they are telling here is whatever the talk she delivered or the speech difficulty what she faced is very strange. She experienced are uncommon symptoms of aura. So this uncommon is strange symptom of aura. It is repetitive, the collective name for the symptoms. So whatever the symptoms she experienced, it is strange. Generally, so they are giving why it is strange. It has been explained here. Generally, aura are visual. So visual means it is easily recognizable. It is seen. For example, blind spots which increase in size or have a flashing, zigzagging, or sparkling margin, but they can include other odd disturbances. So they are giving some of the examples of usual. So what they gave us a story here, they are telling like what she experienced is strange. Usually it will be of this type. So this is the overall content. So when I come to the option to explain the causes has not given. To address the fear surrounding migraine or no fear they haven't mentioned. To illustrate the strange nature, yes, they have given it is strange, and why it is strange they have explained further, usually what they will face. To clarify a misunderstanding about migraine or no clarification, she mentioned that she had a beginning like starting a migraine. That's what she said. She didn't give any clarification on that aspect. So the answer should be C. Next question. The research by the author's name is given into CST. So the question is mainly on the research. So I have to move on to the second paragraph. Where is the author's name? Author's name is here. Norchain Hamdikashni, right? Okay, yeah, right. So here is the author. I just want to find out what the team has found out. Okay, Norchain Khan Kashni and her team at Harvard Medical School managed to record an episode of CST in a brain scanner during migraine aura. Okay, they managed to record an episode of CST in a brain scanner. Managed means they are successful in recording an episode of CST during the same time of migraine aura. Okay, having found a patient who had the rare ability to be able to predict when an arrow would occur. If you see this, whatever it is given in the bracket, it is like a further explanation in a visual region that responds to flickering motion. Okay, this is further explanation, so I'm not taking this into consideration. So they said like they are managed to record, which means they are successful to get an episode of CST during CST. Here it is cortical spreading depression during migraine aura. Okay, so this is their success part. Having found a patient who had the rare ability to be able to predict when an aura would occur, which means a patient is able to predict before an aura occur. Okay, how this confirmed a long suspected, here this meaning what they succeeded, an episode of CST in a brain scanner during RAB. So this is what giving the patient the ability to predict, confirmed a long suspected link between CST and ARA that often precedes the migraine pain. So precedes here before the migraine pain. Okay, this is what they found. Again the author's name, right, they have given, and admits here accepts. However, when you see this, some point that is opposite to what it is already given, that other work she has done suggests that CST may occur all over the brain but often unnoticed, and may even happen in healthy brains. So here this word may happen even in healthy brains. Earlier they said like an episode of CST will occur during migraine aura, but now they said like CST can also can be like often unnoticed, often here frequent, may even happen in healthy brains. So this is like something opposite to earlier said. If so, aura may result of a person, may be the result of person's brain being more sensitive to CST than it should be. So just like we cannot conclude, maybe is possibility. So they are giving like two different views. Okay, one is CST can occur during aura, the second one is it is often unnoticed in healthy brains. Okay, so now let me go to the option has less relevance than many believe. Less relevance, not said, did not result in a definitive conclusion. Yes, two different views they have given. I'm just um, putting it on hold. Was complicated by technical difficulties. This is not said. Overturned years of accepted knowledge, not given. Right, so I will be going for B because of two different conclusions. What does the word this in the second paragraph refers to? We already saw this. This here meaning when we see like confirmed a long suspected link between CST and ARA. So when they say link between CST and ARA, this is an episode of CST occurs during the migraine ARA. So which means is CST and ARA occurs together. Let's see the theory that connects CST and ARA. Yes, there is theory, but this is already there in the line, right? This confirmed, it is confirmation. It's not about the link, but what confirmed, right? So I cannot take this as a answer. The part of the brain where auras takes place, it is not the one, it is not the one given. A is also not preferred because this is not what asked. The simultaneous occurrence of CST and ARA, yes, it occurs together because they have said here during migraine ARA. Yes, it is right. The ability to predict an ARA would happen. No, because in the previous line we have to check what confirmed. Okay, what confirmed the connection. The connection is confirmed by CST occurrence during the ARA, not by the ability. So I have to go for C instead of D. 18th, the question is the implication of Kanskani research into somatosensory cortex is that. So there is something implied. So what it is, I need to find out what is general implication of the research into somatosensory cortex. Okay, so when I move on to the next paragraph, Kanskani has also been looking at the structural and functional differences in the brain. Okay, where is the somatosensory cortex? It's here. She and her team found thickening of a region known as somatosensory cortex, which maps our sense of touch in different parts of the body. Okay, so they are telling about the cortex, what it does. It does maps our sense of touch in different parts of the body. This is function. Okay, they found most significant changes in the region that relates to head and face. Okay, most significant changes are in head and face because sufferers return to normal following an attack. Migraine has always been considered as an episodic problem. Okay, so here they mention like sufferers return to normal following an attack. So immediate after attack they return to normal. Migraine has always been an episodic problem. So this is like regular. They are finding it constant. That is what episodic, like one after another. But we found that if you have successive strikes of pain in the face area, so when they say like episodic, that is what they mean. Again, successive strikes like one after the other, it actually increases cortical thickness. Okay, so the result is it increases cortical thickness. Now if you see here, the author is looking at structural and functional differences in the brain, out of which uh, pointing out on somatosensory cortex, the function is mapping the sense of touch in different parts of the body. But when they give us a result, they found is a result, right? So they say like most significant changes are observed in head and face, out of which they mention like in the face area, when you find a successive strike, that is episodic, like one after the other, it actually increases cortical thickness. So this is what the result they provide. So increases cortical thickness, which is related to structural instead of functional. Okay, so migraine could cause a structural change. Yes, it is right. A lasting treatment for migraine is possible. Treatment they haven't spoken. Some diagnosis of migraine may be wrong, not said. Having one migraine is likely to lead to more. They said episodic, but they haven't mentioned like having one migraine is likely to improve. Likely means possibly there is possibility to increase. So this haven't mentioned. So only A is the option I have. Okay, the next question. What does the writer found surprising about Godsby research? So I have to check what is surprising. Let me move on to the next paragraph. Okay, work with children is also providing some startling is surprising, right? Surprising insights. Okay, a study by migraine expert Peter Godsby, who splits his time between, okay, this is about the expert, looked at the prevalence means presence of migraine in mothers of babies with colic. The uncontrolled crying and fussiness, often blamed here is again notable on sensitive stomachs or reflex. So whenever they have like migraine, prevalence of migraine means presence of migraine in mothers of baby with colic. So we think it is colic, right? So here the presence of migraine is to be taken into account. So uncontrolled crying and fussiness is considered as colic instead of migraine. He found that of 154 mothers whose babies were having a routine 2-month checkup, the migraine sufferers were 2.6 times as likely to have a baby with colic, which means those mothers, 154 number, okay, they had like 2 months checkup, and those who have migraine, they had the possibility of having baby with colic. So likely means 90%, may we consider like that. God's by believes it is possible. So it is possible means maybe that the baby with a tendency to migraine. So the baby may also has the tendency to migraine, may not cope well with barrage. Here the storm of sensory information they experience as their nervous system starts to mature. So their nervous system just now it is starting to mature. It cannot withhold the storm of sensory information they receive. So may not cope means when we suspect that the baby will also have a migraine, it cannot cope up with the sensory information they are receiving, and the distress response would be what we call colic. So we assume that it could be colic. So actually it is not colic. That's what he's telling, that I believe. So this is the author's conclusion. So with this, what I understand is it is possible, maybe there is a possibility to have migraine that we miscalculate as colic. Okay, so now let me see the option. The idea that migraine may not run in families, no, it's not given. The fact that migraine is evident in infanthood, um, evident I cannot take because they said possibility. The link between children and the link between childbirth and onset of migraine, no, it's between the mother and child. So this is I cannot consider as answer. The suggestion that infant colic may be linked to migraine, yes, it is miscalculated that it is colic. Actually this could be linked to migraine. So D is the answer. Here it is mentioned clearly, may not cope with the barrage of information, may not, and possibility to have migraine, what we call as colic. Okay, with this I'll be going with the option D. 20. According to Marla Michael Burrow, what is unusual about the brain of migraine sufferers? So I need to find out the strange nature or unusual. Okay, so let me check this. Marla Michael Burrow, a vision specialist at the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon, Canada, found heightened sensitivity to visual stimuli in the supposedly normal period between attacks. Okay, so here they have said like, this is the author's name, and they said like found heightened sensitivity to visual stimuli in the supposedly normal period between attacks. They expect, so found heightened sensitivity, this is important, to visual stimuli in the supposedly normal period between attacks. So between attacks they have some sensitivity. Usually the brain comes to recognize something repeating over and over again as an unimportant. Usually means general response. The brain comes to recognize something repeating over and over again. So anything that is repeating again and again, that will be considered as unimportant, and the brain stops noticing it. But in people with migraine, so when you say but, it is something opposite, right? So anything you have like but, however, you have to consider it an opposite way. But in people with migraine, the response doesn't diminish over time. So when they have like doesn't diminish over time, this is just opposite to the line what I have already said. Usually the brain is considering something unimportant that is repeating again and again. Anything that repeats again and again, that will be considered as unimportant. But people with migraine, this response is diminishing. Diminishing means minimizing, reducing. Okay, they seem to be attending to things they should be ignoring. This line is very important. They are explaining it very clearly. They seem to be attending to things they should be ignoring. They should be ignoring means something we should ignore actually we are attending to. So meaning we should not attend to such kind of actions or things. So this says that it is not usual behavior. So unusual is here what they have said. It fails to filter out irrelevant details. Irrelevant is right because the word ignoring. So what we need to ignore, we are not ignoring, we are attending to. So fails to filter out is the right one. It struggles to interpret visual input. No, struggle, it is not provided. Interpret is also not provided. Okay, so they said like whatever it is getting attended, sometimes it should be ignored, but this is not the struggling part. It is slow to respond to sudden changes. No, they haven't mentioned anything like sudden changes. It does not pick up on important information. Actually we are talking something about unimportant, not important. So this is also wrong. So A is the right option. Now 21st question. The writer uses the phrase a silver lining in the final paragraph to emphasize. Okay. Emphasizes providing a strong support, right? Or they want to stress something. So what is that? We have to find out first what is silver lining, right? So when I move on to the paragraph, taken together, this research is worrying and suggests that it's time for doctors to treat the condition more aggressively. Taken together means as a conclusion they are telling like the research is worrying. So something they are talking about worrying part of the research, and they say like the doctor should put more efforts to find out more about individual triggers, so stop attacks from happening. So they are telling the research is not really good. um, uh, they are sharing the worrying part, and the doctors should make an effort to stop it from first they need to find out the individual trigger and then to stop the migraine attacks from happening. This is what they are telling. But there is a silver lining. I don't have much information here, but I have something as a connecting word, but. So when I see but, I always assume whenever I have like but or however, that the whatever they have said previously, something opposite they are going to inform. So here they mention the research is worrying part. So the next line should be something good about it, right? So there is silver lining. Silver lining might be something opposite to worrying. The structural changes should not be likened to dementia, Alzheimer disease, or aging, where brain tissue is lost or damaged irreparably. So here they are telling whatever the structural changes it happens because of migraine should not be likened means should not be comparable to dementia, Alzheimer disease, or aging, where brain tissue is lost. So in this disease condition, brain tissue is lost or damaged irreparably, but it is not the condition with migraine. So what they say here but is something opposite to what they have already mentioned. So here they have mentioned to find out the triggers to stop the attack. The next line they are talking about something positive, that the structural changes whatever they have faced so far should not be likened to dementia or other disease, right? This is what they mean. So let's see what we have as an option. The privileged position of privileged is something like advantage. So I don't have such kind of wordings in the paragraph. More positive aspect of the research, yes, first part they have said like worrying, and the second part they when I see but I said like something opposite. So I can consider this as a positive aspect of research. Way migraine affects older people they haven't mentioned. The value of publishing not given. So first part they are giving about worrying. When I see but, I can give like more of positive approach of the research is being explained here than the negative part. So B is right option. 22. What does the writer suggest about the brain changes seen in migraine sufferers? So this is about the suggestion about the brain changes. Let's go to the paragraph and see where the changes are. Okay. uh, okay, even if there is a genetic predisposition, so far we know till here, so I'm reading from this line. In migraine, the brain is compensating. Okay, what it does we'll see in the next few lines. Even if there is a genetic predisposition, research suggests it is the disease itself that is driving networks to an altered state. Altered meaning changing state, right? So they said like disease itself is the factor that lead to altered state. So what it is we'll see in the next few lines. That would suggest the treatment that reduce the frequency or severity of migraine will probably able to reverse some of the structural changes too. So if you are able to reduce the frequency or severity of migraine, that in turn reverse the structural changes too. That's what they say. So in the next few lines, whatever I have learned from here, structural changes should not liken to other diseases where the brain tissue will be damaged permanently. But in other few lines, especially for migraine, they have given here brain is compensating. What it is doing, it has been explained in few other lines, like even though if it is genetic, there is a possibility to change. The disease itself is the factor. And how? When you are able to reduce the frequency or severity of the migraine, there is a possibility to reverse some of the structural changes. This is what they are giving. Okay, now let's see about the brain changes. Some of them may be beneficial, they have been provided. They are unlikely to be permanent. Yes, unlikely to be permanent. Yes, they have given because the changes are able to get reverse, right? So permanent is wrong, unlikely to be permanent. Yes, that is correct. So B option is right because of the word reverse. Some of them make treatment unnecessary. They haven't mentioned unnecessary treatment. They should still be seen as a cause of the concern. Cause they haven't provided. So B is the right option because there is a possibility of it get reversed. Okay, I hope you understood. Thank you so much. If you have any questions or any doubts in any kind of reading paper, do drop down a message. Thank you.